Welcome to In and Out of Character. This is a podcast about role-playing. Just a conversation between two players about their characters and about the way that they feel about role-playing. That's all there is. Some caution is advised, as some of these topics may not be suitable for everybody. Hi, Maddie.
Hi.
This is the second time we're recording because the first time, everything blew up.
It sure did.
We recorded for about an hour and a half, and not only did the audio not record, my power went out, my son kept bothering me, and my delightful stepfather showed up out of the blue.
Oh no! That sucks.
Yeah. So, like before, will you please introduce yourself, tell me where you're calling from, and let me know what you like to do role-playing wise.
Hi, I'm Maddie. I am a role player from way back before World of Warcraft even existed, back in Dungeons and Dragons. I have been role playing through World of Warcraft since basically like a month after Vanilla came out. And I do it basically all the time. I like to do role playing and I like to design stuff, write stories and stuff like that. So I'm pretty much, all the different sides of it.
Mm-hmm. And you're calling me from Tennessee, and the reason why I say that is because I've started to. I have a little map thing on my computer, and whenever I get a caller from an area, I'm gonna pin it, and I don't know what I'm gonna do once I complete something or whatever. I don't know. I guess I'll do a backflip or something.
Do a flip.
Do a flip or a barrel roll or something of that nature. I don't know what I'll do, but I'll do it. There's no reason for me to be like, hey, where are you calling from? Other than it's nice.
Yeah. Sorry, I would have said that, but I was in the middle of hydrating myself. Remember to stay hydrated, folks.
So you start off in D&D. Go ahead and just start me off with all of that. Like, why did you get into role playing with D&D?
Okay, so I come from a family of huge nerds. My mom and my biological father and all of them have been playing D&D since before I was born. Back in I don't know if it was the first version of D&D or if it was advanced or whatever. Some earlier version of D&D. They'd been playing since then. My mom has always been super into fantasy and games and stuff like that. And technically I got my first start playing Magic the Gathering with her. She introduced me to Magic the Gathering. And that was super fun. And then about the time that my older cousin was in middle school, they were reading all those books they had you read in middle school. Old Yeller and Where the Red Fern Grows and stuff like that.
Ugh, yeah.
And all of them are like they're supposed to teach a very important lesson about being able to accept loss and growing up with it and stuff like that. But they're all so depressing. And I think they had been reading Bridge to Terabithia, and they got to the ending part. And the thing that happens and it dies. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who hasn't read I don't know how old that book is, but it's decades old now. But I'm not going to spoil it. Anyway, bad thing happens. It's really depressing. They get to that point, and from what I have been told, my cousin just lays his head down on his desk and cries because it's so depressing. And then he comes home, and he goes up to my mom, who is an avid lover of literature, and he says, I hate reading. It's so depressing and it's so upsetting. And that destroyed my mom. And so she was like, okay, I need to fix this. And she went through her books and she was like, here, this is Dragonlance. This is a series that is really fun. It's one of the things that got me to love reading as much as I do. And then it was that and the Belgariad. But she got him reading Dragonlance, and he absolutely loved it. And it's something that it's one of his favorites to this day. And because he loved that so much, she decided, you know what? Okay, I will get you the rule books for Dungeons and Dragons, because that's what Dragonlance is based off of, in case anyone didn't know. And so she got him the rule books, and he was really eager to play, so we all started playing. The first campaign was horrible. To be fair, we were all little bitty baby kids. I played a dwarf fighter. I decided that I was going to. We attacked some lord's manor. My mom was DMing. We attacked some lord's manor. I decided I was going to take all of the dishes on the dining room table, and she looks at me and she's like, "Okay, fine. Your backpack is now full of dishes." And then we go and we hide out in the woods, and these people are chasing us, and I decide I'm going to run away. And she's like, "Okay, well, all those dishes are loud and rattling." So then my decision was, I'm going to take the dishes out of my bag. I'm going to try to throw them at the people pursuing us to knock them unconscious.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not even the best part. We didn't know next to anything about how all this worked. Later on, we were trying to get some information from a shopkeeper, and the party was split up. I was in one place, and my other cousin was talking to some shopkeeper somewhere else, and I talked to this person, got information about a guy named Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
And so my cousin decides to ask the person she's talking to, "So what do you know about Charlie?" Even though her character would not know that, like, for no reason, would know that name. And my mom was like, you can't ask that. Your character doesn't know that. And my cousin was like, fine, my character just guesses the name randomly. And so my mom decides, well, the shopkeeper gets really upset at you and throws you out and locks the door. And, it was horrible. It was absolutely miserable. Hilariously fun. I think at one point, my older cousin, we were trying to avoid suspicion, and he passed my dwarf off as a bearded lady from a circus because I had absolutely no other skills. It was hilarious. So yeah, that's basically how I got started, and it stuck around since then. Writing for role playing, writing collaborative fan fiction in notebooks, passing around back and forth with my friends. They could add their own things, all that sort of stuff. It's been part of my life ever since.
Yeah, you and I have spent many, 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 many years playing tabletops and everything together.
Mm-hmm. And it, for a lot of people, that would be many hours across many years, but I think you and I probably have cumulative playtime of like multiple years worth just cumulative playtime of role-playing games.
Oh yeah, and we've done so many different one-shots and stuff like that because it's always fun just to sit down, make a character, play through a setting, and then repeat the process all over again.
Oh, absolutely. Sometimes it's therapeutic, sometimes it's just entertaining, sometimes it's a good way to get those creative juices flowing if you're feeling like that writer's block and such.
Absolutely, and trust me, there are times where oh man, I think I like tabletop role playing for the aspect of I can bring a character to the table and get like face to face interaction with that character. Like in MMOs, you can make a character and you can role play that character, but you don't know the other players. Not really, if you don't know them like personally, or you haven't just been role playing with them for a long time. While you do get the instant gratification of here is an emote, and then another player will return that emote. They don't know you, and they don't know, like, the player doesn't know you as a player, and they don't know your character. Not really. However, Maddie, if you and I sit down and I bring a character to the table and you are also not DMing, you probably already know what I'm about.
If I don't, I can generally look at your stuff. But that's a really good point about the personal connection or disconnect with role-playing games. In role-playing games, you have in MMOs, I should say, you have the setting around you that you can build off of, and you have the way your characters are dressed and your opponent's characters are dressed. You have the visual components of it.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't get any of the vocal inflection. I mean, you can if you're talking to people. You can get the vocal inflection if you are using microphone voice chat, but a lot of us hate that. It's a pain to set up in a lot of games. And I know a lot of people get insecure about voice acting and stuff like that, but trust me, inflection, even if you can't do voice acting, being able to hear the way people say things
Mm-hmm.
It has a big difference.
Oh yeah,
You also
absolutely.
miss the face part of it, being able to see the person and look at them and see the expressions they're making. Some people don't act like that.
So actually, this is one of the things that me and another friend were actually talking about. I love. There is a character in the guild I'm at. His name is Bernard, and Bernard puts a lot of emphasis on like emoting his face, and I really appreciate that about Bernard because you again these faces are mostly just static. In Final Fantasy, you can actually use an emote to show your character's face. Like there's an angry emote and there's a sad emote and stuff like that. And unlike Elder Scrolls, this is like the big thing I like about Final Fantasy. When you target somebody in Final Fantasy, your character's head will actually look at them, and the other player on their screen can see your character looking at them. It's not just like an instance thing where it's like in Elder Scrolls, everybody's always looking forward, no matter what screen you're looking at. In Final Fantasy, characters' heads are like swiveling around and actually looking at people, and everybody can see it, not just you. Uh, I I like Final Fantasy for that aspect.
That is excellent. Although that reminds me of, and I'm sure they've got something to deal with this, but there's so many times where role playing scenarios happen, like while you're eating or drinking, like in a tavern or whatever. And I
Yeah.
can't help but think of like Oblivion walking by a guard while he's sitting down eating a loaf of bread on his break, and as he's eating his loaf of bread, he turns to say something to you, and he's just rubbing the loaf of bread on the side of his face as he's talking to you.
Nope, it hasn't been fixed yet. That is a
Oh,
constant thing.
that is a classic. I don't know whether or not I would want that to be fixed. I
Uh,
I remember a lot of stuff like this in World of Warcraft, though. Like, I
uh,
like to. Oh, I'm sorry.
no, you go right ahead. I have a funny thing to tell you about fishing. Go right ahead.
Oh. Well, so in World of Warcraft, I like to role play stuff out in like the woods and stuff like that. And a campfire is kind of a must if you're out in the middle of the woods. It gets cold, so you set up a campfire to talk to people. And for the campfires in World of Warcraft, I don't know who taught them how to find firewood, but those things only last like 5 minutes. And role
Mm-hmm.
playing, for anyone who hasn't tried it, takes a long time. It doesn't take 5 minutes. And it took me. I learned really quickly exactly where, relative to my character, that campfire gets placed. Because too many times I would be sitting there talking to someone, and the fire would go, and I'd set the new fire, and it would be right under my friend's ass, and they would have to get up and move, and it's just there are elements that about games that are a little jarring that can take you out, but sometimes you just have to. Sometimes you can learn to compensate for them. You
Mm-hmm.
can either overcome them or even make use of them.
Mm-hmm. Um, I have discovered a thing in Elder Scrolls recently, and I cannot wait to show it to you. I will take a video later and send it to you, and I will make sure that I put this up on Twitter or something like that, or Tumblr, and on the website. Might as well. And it is the funniest thing of my life, where if you, I'm laughing about it. So basically, how fishing works in Elder Scrolls is it's not like World of Warcraft. It's not like Final Fantasy, where you can just go to any body of water, throw a hook in. No, you have to find a specific fishing hole to go fishing at, and they spawn around. Once you get there, you select the appropriate bait and you throw in the line. I have found out, and normally what you wait is for the thing to bob, and then you click on it, or you hit E to pick it up, and then you gather your fish and you go over again. Um, I have found out that if you are fishing while the rod is out, you can use any emote and it will work while with your fishing rod in your hand. So there is this one emote where you lean back and you flip a coin. The rod is on the same, I don't know what it's called. I don't know the technical term, but it's on the same model as the coin. So when you lean back and you flip a coin, what you're really doing is you're leaning back and just flipping your fishing rod way into the air and catching it. And
That is excellent.
it is the I have to show it to everybody. Everyone needs to know about this, and I love it so much.
I'm sure there's probably like a an invisible equipment slot for like props or something like that, like the hammer you use when you kneel down and bang on someone's ass with it and it makes a hammering sound or whatever.
Sorry, I'm laughing about
it. I applaud ZeniMax for being brave enough to put props into their emotes and their actions in Elder Scrolls Online, because those are always so hilarious and they always interact in the weirdest ways.
Oh man.
It reminds me of World of Warcraft. The upper body of the Worgen is animated separately from the lower body. Mm-hmm. And because of that, while dancing, you can do some other emotes and your character will do the emote. And so if you use a continuous emote like Cower, on the upper body, your Worgen will be like holding their hands up, shaking and cowering, while their lower body is still dancing around and twirling their body around, and it also looks absolutely hilarious. That's not something I can do at the table when I'm role playing, and I kind of wish I could.
Oh, I wish I could too as well, Maddie. I really wish I could as well. Oh man. Anyways. So, moving on. I'm so sorry. I've driven us off topic. What have you? Huh?
There's a topic?
I don't know. Is there a topic on this one? I'm just kind of going. Like, I don't have any real topic when I do this. All I want to do is just talk about role playing, and the titles of this just kind of come out as I'm editing them.
Of course.
But so what all have you role played with?
Okay, I guess this episode's going to take like 4 hours then.
Oh no.
I'll start from the beginning and I'll just see what I can recount. Obviously, there was D&D initially that kind of got me into it. Of course, I was a kid, and like a lot of other kids.
I have a better question. How about this instead? To narrow down the list, what have you and I role played together in?
What have we role played together in? Oh, now you're testing my memory, because before I could just make stuff up and assume, but now you know whether or not I'm wrong.
This is what the whole point of the podcast was. It was just getting you online and being like, you better remember, Maddie.
Oh gosh. So we've tried all kinds of different systems. Sorry about that. We've tried all kinds of different systems in the past. Big Eyes, Small Mouth is one that we keep coming back to, which I hesitate to call a system. I've always called it more of a game building toolkit.
Mm-hmm.
You can do some ridiculous stuff in that. A lot of people don't like Bessem, apparently, because you can do some ridiculous overpowered stuff, and a lot of them miss one of the important rules earlier on. And I don't blame them for not wanting to do this, because it's a lot of work for some people. But as the GM, you're supposed to decide what is and isn't allowed and adjust prices accordingly. If you don't want someone with the normal amount of points that your normal hero characters get to have control over the sun, don't let them.
Mm-hmm.
Or better yet, do what I like to do and just make a little catalog of what things they can pick. Use it to build stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we've...
I remember, because I remember when Elise... I remember when Elise made us do not made us, of course, but did the Naruto campaign, and I was playing the Samurai Weeb. Elise literally turned to me and said, "Can you please make your character less powerful?" And I was like, oh, "Okay."
I played a Zelda game with a couple of friends one time, and one of the players was like, "Hey, because my character is a mage and all about using ranged attacks, is a +2 isn't really very much. +2 doesn't really mean much, but that's kind of the limit here. On ranged attacks and accuracy and stuff like that, how many points can I put into this?" I wasn't paying attention because I was helping everyone else build their stuff, and I was like, just how many points do you want to put in it? And they were like, "Oh, well, can I get it up to 7?" And I wasn't thinking. I was like, "Yeah, sure." A +7 on a 2d6 system means that you have an entire additional die that has rolled more than the highest value that it possibly can every time you make an attack. And it's also +7 damage in Bessem. And so this person was literally... They were so squishy, but on their turn, they would literally point at someone and die. And when I say literally point at someone, I mean literally. They decided that their character shot their spells out of their fingertips. like
That's
finger
awesome.
guns, and it was great.
Didn't I play like one session of that with you? Like at least I made a character, and I remember I was just so busy working at the time because I had to work like 2 jobs. And what did I play? I played one of the Gordons, right? Like the rock people.
So I have this Zelda campaign thing is actually something that I have tried to do so many times. This is a different one. This was after we moved down to Orlando.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Yeah,
gotcha.
it was with a different set of people. But yeah, at one point I did try to help you set up a Goron monk character. And that didn't end up panning out. Oh, as happens with a lot of the things that we're about to list here, the reason there are so many is because so many of these games just are dead on arrival, unfortunately.
You can say it like it is. Like I sucked sometimes at showing up, and I am so sorry about that. But like
So many of us did. I also am horrible at that. But
we
also,
were, I'm surprised we even got some campaigns off of the ground. Like I think the Naruto campaign, God, there was a few that we actually like got out and did.
yeah.
Like one of my favorites was the rodent campaign, as we
Mm-hmm.
called it.
Mm-hmm.
And that one was so fun. But I couldn't stay awake for my life because I
Yeah.
had to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to work every day. And then I would like once I got there to you guys, I didn't have a car at the time, so I'd have to walk like an hour and a half to get to y'all's house. And I was so tired by the time I got there. I was sitting on y'all's couch and I was sweaty and I stunk and I hated my own existence. And I would just lean my head back and I would pass out and fall asleep.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
And
you weren't the only problem. I'm really bad at keeping to a schedule, and also scheduling problems are something that a lot of groups are familiar with. Another thing a lot of groups are probably familiar with in this day and age: phones. Our group is very bad about getting distracted with our phones.
oh yes,
Joey was
absolutely.
very entertaining, but would constantly derail stuff with things on his phone. And even in my Zelda game, like I want to set aside like a good 2 or 3 hours for a session for a
Hmm.
game, and I expect to get through a fair portion of things. We would play 5 hour sessions of that Zelda game, and we would get through like 3 rooms in a dungeon.
Right.
It took us 4 sessions to get through the starter dungeon, and the starter dungeon wasn't that big
Hmm.
because
Man.
phone distraction.
Yeah, yeah. If you're, I mean, as a DM, you can't like keep people off of their phones, but at the very least, you can be like, hey, you're being a little distracting. Can you please, break it down? I think Jack talked about this a little bit as well, and I know that we were all bad about it. I remember us all bringing our SSDs and our games and our phones and our tablets and playing on them while we talked.
Yeah. I mean, I would use my tablet a lot to do a lot of stuff for the
Hmm.
games. Like I would doodle down a little map on it, or one of the things that I like to do is I would like to type up things that I would give to people because I like to add things to games. I like to make things for games. And with a lot of the systems that we've used, that works very well. And so I would like type up a lot of like I would type up new things, and as we were going through, I would send them to people so that they would have like if I could just put them on cards, I would. But my handwriting is atrocious. Ink is expensive as hell, and that's just a little more prep than I'm ready to do. I can type though, so I would
Hmm.
type things up and I would send them to people so they would have them on their phone and they could look at that. But that's setting myself up for failure because that's giving them more reason to look at their phone.
I understand, and it's always unfortunate because like you have to, if you don't have the books, people have to use their phones. And once
Mhm.
you pull out your, and once people pull out their phones, like I will pull out my phone to message a customer or to like look up someone's name or number and give them a call, and suddenly I'm on Discord like laughing at a stupid video that my friend just sent me.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
it's so easy to, like once you pull out the phone, that's it, man. Like you're
Mhm.
done. Don't even bother.
Exactly.
I miss a lot of the systems we used to play. I
Mhm.
miss the rodent campaign so much.
Yeah. So I guess I'll get back to that list.
Oh,
You
yes.
mentioned the Naruto campaign.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, uh, I was added into that later. I think you guys had done like 2 or 3 sessions before I joined, and I decided to make the medic character, and I was only able to be there for like 1 session, maybe 2. Unfortunately,
I
I did
think.
miss a lot of that.
Yeah, I think we. I think we. Oh no! I think we stopped soon after that.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
Do we? Do we
Um,
wanna? Do we wanna tell people about the spaghetti box?
oh, have you
Do
already
we,
discussed that with Jack?
I haven't discussed it. I haven't asked Jack if I can talk about it. You know what? Hold on. I'm gonna text him right now, and if he
Okay.
says yes at some point during this, what else besides the Naruto campaign and the spaghetti campaign is all we can call it until we get
Mm-hmm.
approval, because that was one of the rules of the
Yes,
spaghetti
it
campaign.
was. So let's see. We've done so many other things. There was Jack's mech game. I'm pretty sure you were in that one.
Oh yeah,
One was awesome.
for like a very short time, for a very short
Yeah.
time, and basically all I did was build Metal Gear from Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah. I mean, I made a walking artillery cannon. Joey was in it, which we've learned now is a very bad idea because if you don't need phones or any other distractions to derail campaign, Joey can do it on his own.
Hmm.
But he made a goddamn Zoid.
Oh
Um,
yeah, the cat sword. God, I love that idea
yeah,
too.
and Chris, I think, was in the campaign as well, and he made a transformer that was like a work machine with a big crane arm that also was it was it was nightmare. And my mech had the ability to shoot like a like 120 miles, I think, was the range on my artillery cannon. Like I was able to shoot so far that it would take 3 turns from the time I did my attack before it would actually hit the target.
Oh gosh.
That's the kind of crazy shit that you can do with Besom.
Hmm.
Um, so there was that. There's the Rodents game that you mentioned a few times. That was played in World of Darkness.
That was so was that World of Darkness?
It was World of Darkness.
That's right. God, that was so fun.
With a setting that I've got a lot of these, but a setting that I have had in my head that I wanted to do for a long time. Basically, just like post-apocalypse, but everyone and all humans are gone. All the humans are gone, and everyone is just hyper intelligent critters that live within the ruins of the human civilization. The main inspiration behind it is I believe it's a Disney short. I'm pretty sure there are 2 of these actually, called Goodwill Towards Man.
Hmm.
I think the other one is called Peace on Earth. They're basically the same story, and it's this family of mice who live in an old World War I gas mask helmet. You know, the kind with the hose that goes from the helmet to the chest piece or whatever.
Hmm.
Telling a story about how the last 2 humans on Earth shot each other, and war eliminated humanity, and then the rodents became intelligent.
This is a Disney short. Well, of course. Well, I shouldn't be
Yeah,
surprised. I shouldn't be
yeah,
surprised. Disney has had some dark themes before.
yeah. It's one of their older shorts, from the 30s, I want to say.
Hmm.
Old short. It has an unfortunately heavy religious component to it, which my game didn't have. But I've been fixated for a long time on the idea of post-apocalyptic, but it's tiny critter people living, like making houses out of like old tin cans and wagons out of old roller skates and such.
Hmm. Yeah.
And we played a few sessions of that, and that was quite fun. Um, your character was a bird
Hmm.
assassin,
Yeah.
and you
She
ate
was
a
a
couple of the dead party members.
I did, because she. Oh my god, I forgot all about that. Oh no, I'm having like a
Mm-hmm.
flood of memories from this now. I
Mm-hmm.
remember. I remember my character was like a white. Was it crow? White crow?
Yep, a white crow.
An albino crow is what I should say.
Yes. Right.
So she was an albino crow, and therefore she was sort of cast out.
Mm-hmm. No,
But she.
because the birds have become religious and they have seen the white birds in the religious imagery as being something holy. Originally, like in nature, albino crows would be pushed out of the group because they they stand out. They don't blend in.
Mm-hmm.
But in this setting, they perceive being a white bird as being dove-like, and therefore it implies that you've been chosen for a holy purpose.
That's right. So my character joined up with this entourage for the church on behalf of the church, to follow this one archaeologist to go do things. And I vaguely remember there's like we're all just set up camp. And what was that one? And the shrews that just die so
Voles,
quickly.
but yes,
The voles.
these.
The voles, that's right.
Yeah.
And one of them died, and my character looked at the vole and said, "Well, that's meat, and I'm hungry. I won't let this go to waste." And I started to eat the vole, the dead vole, and the other characters, who were all rodents, by the way. I was the only bird. All the other characters were just like, "No, what are you doing?"
Mm-hmm. Oh, I had a lot of plans for that. I don't know whether or not we would bring it back, but where we left that off, there was a monster snake that had attacked the camp and killed someone, and Cole's character, the squirrel, Old Miss, got like she tried to. They killed the snake, but it pinned one of the characters down with its fangs, and she tried to like lift its jaws up by herself and cut her hands open and got the irradiated venom in her hands. Then she was in a coma for like a week, and when she woke up, she could like she had no fur on her arms at all anymore, but she could produce venom from her arms, sort of like a really fucked up Spider-Man.
Yeah, I want everybody to know that
plans for that.
Yeah, I want everybody to know really quickly that this was way before Biomutant was even a thing. What we're talking about was years and years and years ago. Like, I'm 32 right now. I was in my early 20s when we did this.
Yeah,
mid 20s, something like that.
Time is an illusion. It doesn't exist. But yeah, it was before. But I completely forgot that was a thing in Biomutant.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't know if that was a thing. I just want people to be like, I don't want people to be like, oh, so you basically played Biomutant. No, son, Biomutant copied us. We should get royalties. All right.
I believe Biomutant is there's a fair number of differences between what we did in Biomutant as well. Like, our characters are smaller. It wasn't quite as far in the future. It was like right after, so all of the human stuff was still around. It wasn't super overgrown. And I know that the character's arm gets like shriveled because of exposure to radiation, but I don't know if they produce poison out of it.
I have no
and also
idea.
all of the creatures in Biomutant are weird hodgepodge mishmash things, whereas we're literally playing rats who could talk and wear clothes.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not worried about people thinking I ripped off Biomutant. It's a really neat game. It's a really neat premise for a game, and I do kind of recommend it to people if you have tolerance for the childishness of the way that it's delivered and the babbling gibberish that the other characters say.
Right.
But yeah, that was probably one of the longer running ones that we did. Oh boy, we've played plenty in World of Warcraft as well, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure that's one of the main ways that we did most of this stuff.
Mm-hmm. We role played a little bit in World of Warcraft.
I believe there were a couple times we've tried various versions of Fallout.
Oh yes,
playing games.
Oh yeah, we tried very hard to make Fallout a thing because we both like the Fallout universe, and we wanted to experience that more. I think that's the reason why people pick up MMOs or role playing, I should say, in general, because like you have something and you desperately want it to become. You desperately want to enjoy more of it.
Yeah,
and
it's a world that you find engaging. You want to explore more of, explore the nuances that aren't made available within the game.
Right.
Like, there are so many implications about what the experience of living in the world of Fallout or the world of Warcraft, the world of
Warcraft.
Wow, that was weirdly hard to say. But all of these different settings, there's things that you can pick up on as you experience it that make further implications about other ways to experience life in these worlds. And sometimes it's compelling, and sometimes it just fixes itself in your brain.
Yeah, and
And then,
I believe we tried. I believe we tried Warframe as well one time.
yeah, I've worked on a couple of ideas for things sort of like Warframe. I think we did want to do some role playing in Warframe, but it was just at the time that we were trying to do it, we didn't even have the ability to move around as our operators. We could only move around as the
Right.
frames themselves.
Oh, that's right. Like there was no operator yet. Like they're like what people play in Warframe now is not what Warframe was back to us. This was oh
Mm-hmm.
wow, this is before they did the whole movement change. Like you remember how you actually had to really work at parkour and you had to get good at it?
Oh yeah, we
And
we played before there was a ship for our hub, where the hub was literally you just sat there with a map in front of you.
that's right. God. I miss Warframe so much, but I know if I start playing it right now, I'll never like it'll suck me back in because I love Warframe. But and I actually joined a Warframe role playing clan that actually had like their clan set up for role playing and stuff like that. The biggest problem that they had was, and it was so much fun. It was really fun. And of course, Maddie, if you want to go ahead and guess what my Warframe was, you may.
Oh god, there are a lot of
No,
options.
it's only one. It's only one, and you know who it is.
Hmm,
You know who he is.
hmm.
It starts with
It's
a
going to be
V.
Vauban.
That's all you got. It's Vauban, baby. Love Vauban. Vauban.
Got your
Sorry.
back.
I love Vauban so much. Anyways,
Um,
so
I
it was a ton of fun, but my
yeah
only problem with the clan itself is that they kept resetting everything, like the whole story, top to bottom. So you would have to reintroduce your characters again, and you would have to redo things again. And I don't understand why the clan leader kept doing this, but it was like 3 days of role playing. I remember we had three separate resets, and I was like,
what?
I'm so tired. I'm like, I please let us role play and let us come up with these stories and let's have fun because you just keep resetting us. And finally, I was like, yeah, you know what? I'm good. It was
Yeah.
fun. I miss this, but I guess I'll just go back to making this a power play run and gun game.
Yeah, I've had a couple. I haven't had too many encounters where a lot of resets were a problem. I have, however, been in a few situations with large group role plays that I wish I could have a reset personally. Like,
Hmm.
there's a My Hero Academia roleplay server that I was part of on Discord.
Hmm.
And you could play as a hero student. You know, the thing you play in the thing that My Hero Academia is about. Um, I made my character, and I still really like the character that I made. But at the time, a lot of stuff came up in my life, and I wasn't able to make it for it. They it was really cool the way they did it, but it also kind of got in the way. They actually had like scheduled classes, and it was, hey, this day at between these real world times, we're going to have a session for your class. And it was basically like, your typical roleplay session. And you could miss classes, that's fine. You could roleplay your character's development elsewhere. But I kept missing a lot of things, and I ended up missing an entire school year. And my character is now a second year with absolutely no development whatsoever. I have ideas for the development for this character, but not like I missed out on an entire year's worth of establishing it, and so I kind
That's
of wish that I could have a reset, but they don't. They have a no resets policy.
But okay, so I'm not gonna say that that's super duper weird, but that is very unique. Let's say because
Mm-hmm.
the character development is tied to a time limit, and that
To an
you have
extent,
to
yes.
an extent, right? Because I mean, like no one's forcing you to role play. You can't
Right.
force someone to role play in any setting.
Right.
Um,
And
you
the rule was if you don't have to make all of your advancements in class, But you have in order for your character to advance, you have to roleplay it somehow. You can do it outside class in the middle of the night, hanging out with your friends in the park, and suddenly your character realizes, "Wow, I can make a laser using this light manipulation ability," and now you have the ability to use a laser. But you have to play it somehow.
That's very cool.
Yeah, it's a really neat setup. I wish that I had been able to like put myself more into it because they even had like a good format for how to balance quirks and stuff like that. It's really cool. One thing that about that though, that and Warframe and all that sort of thing, about you and I is we will try to make anything into a role-playing game / setting.
Oh, absolutely. Gosh, what's the weirdest thing that we've tried besides Warframe? Like, I think Warframe has to be one of the oddest.
There's one really weird one that we're not sure we're allowed to talk about.
Oh yeah, the spaghetti campaign. Can't talk about that. We can only refer to it as spaghetti, and if Jack doesn't show up here, we're not going to be able to talk about it. I think he burned the box, actually.
Either he burned the box, or it has been dismantled, or left behind, or thrown in the trash, something like that. So like, there's no risk involved, but it's the spirit that matters.
It's the spirit. Now, I want everyone to understand whatever this mystery game is. We call it the spaghetti campaign. And Jack made a box. He didn't just go get a box. He handcrafted a fully like a big old wooden box. That had like a lock on it, I believe. Like
two latches on it.
Two latches on it and like hinges, so like open and close. Like he went out of his way to make this actual box himself out of wood, and he put all of the stuff for this campaign in it. And he had always threatened, if we tell anybody about this campaign, anyone at all, he will set it on fire.
Yeah.
And I think I told somebody about the spaghetti campaign. I didn't say what it was about, but I remember calling it the spaghetti campaign. And I remember talking about the box, and I remember Jack going, "I'm just going to burn the box now." And everything inside of it.
Yeah. There's there's so many things I can't quite go back through in my memory to figure out like exactly the things that we have and haven't tried. I do know there was one point where I think this may have been more with Elise than with you. I have this D&D board game called Dungeon. And basically it's you move around in a dungeon, you go into rooms and you fight things, and your class affects what you have to roll to do things. And it's very super very super bare bones. But I remember wanting to add additional things to it, like abilities for each of the classes to have, because it's just the classes are literally just what you have to roll and what points you have to get to win. And after a while, I was thinking to myself, why are we doing this? We might as well just play D&D.
Yeah, I do remember that. I do remember that. I remember. Oh, yes, I do actually remember this, because we all sat down one day and we did this, and we were going through like all these mechanics and stuff like that, and finally it was just like, why don't we just play the damn game?
Yeah. We've done a lot of making different kinds of games in the past. There's our first game, Pony Pile Up.
Pony Pile Up. I still have that too.
Yeah, I think that's the main way that we really got into designing games. And I was really proud of that. Like, Carissa isn't a fan of ponies or anything like that, but when she tried the game, she was like, "This is actually really good. I'm really impressed with this, guys."
I still have it. Maybe one day we'll make a video of us just playing it and talking about it and just being silly. Yes, I say we absolutely do that one day.
I guess now that I've got a computer and I can do graphics design stuff on it, I can actually make the cards look like something other than just blank pieces of paper with text on them.
We are going to play it exactly as it is right now. Okay.
That's going to be such a miserable thing to watch.
It's going to be so much fun. It'll be you, Jack, myself, and let's get Troy involved. Or no, who else would it be? Who else designed this game with us?
Elise was involved in it. And then I think that was basically it. I think it was the three of us with a bit of help from Elise, and then Troy and Gary had tried it a couple times.
Yeah, we got a couple of people at one of the conventions to play it as well. Oh God, what fun times! Oh, what fun,
That's
silly,
a word.
stupid times! God,
And I say that watching us play this game with no images on the cards isn't gonna be fun, but I don't think adding art to the cards is gonna make it any less miserable for people to watch.
I think what we need to do is we need to do like I think what we should do is like do a special if we ever get to the point where we have a lot of people watching and listening, and
Mhm.
what we'll do is we'll just go through and like we'll do our own art for it, and we'll just send off the card. Might as well. I mean, there's no point. And like, well, I keep it together. You had it on you for years and
Mhm.
years and years, and you recently gave it back to me.
Mhm.
Uh, oh no, I'm not gonna get rid of it. No, I'm not gonna get rid of it. I
No,
love that game.
I think it would be cool actually if we could do like a blast from the past type thing where you, Jack, and I get together and we just like go back through some of the old weird stuff that we used to do and play, like revive some of our old projects. And
Our crazy insane ideas that
Mhm.
we've for anybody listening, we have come up with so many different board games. We actually tried to start a board game company way back when. I think about 8 years ago, 9 years ago now.
Yeah, around about that. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
and
it was a little after the world was supposed to have ended. Was when
yes.
I joined the group, and just months into that is when we started trying to make our games.
hmm but we are getting off topic
Oh
real
yeah,
bad.
wait,
I
wait.
should what I should say by summarizing all of what we just said is that creativity really helps when it comes to role playing.
Oh, absolutely. I don't. There are a lot of people who play role playing games for like a tabletop, crunchy board game type experience, and that's
hmm
entirely fine. That's entirely valid, and it's cool. But I think for most people, the best thing you can get out of role playing games is the collaborative, creative experience.
Absolutely. Oh gosh, yes. And it's always fun to like play in your own universe.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially because you can at that point decide, there's this very vague thing. I think it'd be really cool if it turned out to be like this, and
hmm
you can do that. You can
Yeah.
do that if you want. Any of these cool ideas you have, you can explore. If you want to have your character in Fallout wear like a robotic armor gauntlet that has like cryo cells and incendiary cells attached to the arm that like is attached to your shish kebab, and you can switch it from fire to cryo if you want. Like you could do
I
that.
I have been running this idea in my head. I've been wanting to do a campaign for so long, and maybe we'll make something out of this. I would like it to be. I have been wanting to take Elder Scrolls and Fallout and smash them together for years now. And every single time I think about this, I'll be like, I'm gonna make this into a campaign someday where everybody is like trapped on this like the Elder Scrolls universe and the Fallout universe are their own two separate universes, but your characters and other players or other people have been like smashed together with somebody from the Elder Scrolls universe and somebody from the Fallout universe. So let's say you're playing let's say in the Elder Scrolls universe there was this I'm gonna go off and just say a Breton woman, and what would happen is this character in Fallout would suddenly just get this other person in their head and gain like their knowledge and their experiences and stuff like that very suddenly. And what I would like to do is I would like to have a random cycle of like I was thinking like 2 weeks
Mhm.
where you switched between your Fallout physique and your Elder Scrolls physique.
Mhm.
Yeah, so like sometimes you'd be playing as the Fallout character with the Elder Scrolls character stuck in your head, and then sometimes you'd be playing as your Elder Scrolls character with the Fallout character stuck in your head, and you're trying to figure out, why is this going on, what is happening, so on and so forth.
Sort of a quantum leap type thing, but between these universes, like a Nuka quantum leap.
Yes, something of that nature. I been wanting to do this for so long.
That does sound really cool.
Yeah.
When you said that originally, I was just thinking just mash the two together. Basically, the races of Elder Scrolls with magic and castles stuff like that, but also guns and radiation and mutants.
Mm-hmm. And vice versa. You have your swords and your bows and your magic.
What could be really cool is my Fallout character is really good at building guns, and so go back to the Elder Scrolls universe. It's like I know how to make this weapon that this world has never seen.
Mm-hmm. Do you know what a dragon break is?
Yeah, that's like dragons are associated with time, and it's where really crazy something really crazy in the Elder Scrolls universe happens, and it's so crazy that it literally like causes a time bubble, right?
Right. So basically, anything that can happen. So let's take Elder Scrolls Skyrim for as an
Mm-hmm.
example. Every possible playthrough of Skyrim is canon,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I do
and that
remember that.
that
It's similar to the way it is in Morrowind with the Chim. Your character is so powerful with Chim that you can manipulate time, and not only is every playthrough canon, but dying and reloading with the same knowledge you had before is entirely canon as well.
yes, I I really like that concept. I think it's really cool.
Hilarious to me, at very least.
Ah, man, I haven't played a tabletop for so long, Maddie.
Well, if you like, I've actually got a project that I just did. I think a cool thing to add to this program would be recording some tabletop sessions. It could be you, Jack, anyone else you know that wants to play that.
Oh, yeah.
And
So
also, yeah,
you remember that I was going to originally do this idea
yes,
with
I
kids on
do,
bikes,
I
and
do.
I desperately still want to do that. It just now I'm at that point where I'm like, okay, if this is something I want to be serious about, then I actually need to get down and be more serious about it.
Hmm.
And and right now I'm in the process of making a roadmap, and either that is going to be out by the time this episode is done, or it's not. Hopefully, it will be because this episode is going to come out in exactly 3 weeks from now.
Wow. This episode might, at the rate that we've been talking, we might finish recording by then.
We will sit here and talk about role playing and ideas and concepts for hours. God,
Hmm.
remember we used to go to Waffle House in the
Yeah.
middle of the night and just sit there and communicate. Like we would sit there when the sun was going down, and we would awaken, like not awaken, but we'd get up as like the sun was coming up.
Hmm.
Like we just Waffle House was right there. We have the money. Let's
Yeah.
go eat and talk.
Yeah,
God, those were good times.
we did stuff like that a lot. We had game night every Thursday night at
Hmm.
Whataburger, and we would, or Wednesday night maybe. I don't know, either
Something
Wednesday or
like that.
Thursday in the middle of the week. We would go there at around I think 11. I think it
Hmm.
was. And we would get together to play games, and then a lot of people would leave, and it would be you, Jack, myself, sometimes Krissa and Cole, and we would just hang out until like I have multiple times been there from the moment game night started to noon the next
Hmm.
day. That
Absolutely.
long. And then yeah, you and I and Jack at one point we had an idea for a game, and we went to Waffle House, and by the time I think Cole was there as well, actually. By the time we finished at that Waffle House, like writing down ideas and discussing ideas and stuff like that, we had pretty much an entirely functional game. I still have that game. There's only a couple rules I need to polish off for it, and I need to get art for it. But like, yeah, we do this sort of thing all the time where we will just get obsessively sidetracked talking about settings and concepts and stuff like that. You had your Magic the Gathering role playing
Hmm.
module thing that you were working on.
Hmm. Yeah, like
Um,
what we're doing right now,
yeah.
which is getting sidetracked and not talking about role playing at all.
I
This is
suffer from
this is just going to be the.
intense.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I suffer from intense inspiration. I like to refer to it as maker's madness, where literally ideas will come to me and I have no ability to fight them off. I have to make them. Like I am a slave to my inspiration. It is powerful and maddening, and I will lie awake at night for hours thinking about things I want to put down, like do with this idea, because
Hmm.
it's just obsessive. And I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure you, Jack, and I, everyone in our group has that to some extent.
Oh, absolutely. Because I will stay awake. I will stay up for hours and hours and hours, way beyond what I was supposed to. Do you remember when we lived together? Because you and I used to
Mhm,
be roommates.
mhm.
I had a coffee pot in my bedroom. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm. I
Yeah.
do.
I used to have a coffee pot, and I would literally just drink coffee. Like at one point, I would drink coffee at like 6 p.m. and I would just keep drinking coffee up until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and then I'd
Mm-hmm.
finally pass out. I was not a healthy person back then,
Right. I
and
also remember in the place you lived before that, as well as the place you lived after that, you had multiple times taken like sheets of butcher paper and pinned them to your wall and just writing all. It looked like that. It looked like the tracking down the serial killer scene in so many of those movies, but it was about putting together game ideas.
oh god, yeah, I would cover my walls in
Mm-hmm.
this paper, and I would just spend hours just writing on my walls. And it was because I couldn't sit at a desk long enough because of
Yeah.
my ADHD. I have to get up and move. So I would
Mm-hmm.
like start writing on one thing, and then I'd go over to another area, start writing on another thing, and I'd just like pace around my room doing this over. My god, I forgot I used to do that. I
Yeah.
don't do that anymore. Thank goodness. Like I've gotten a better handle of myself now.
Oh,
But
when we got there to look at your new place, and you showed me the room that you were going to make into your, I think it's your bedroom and your office, or just
uh
your office.
I had an office room and I also had a bedroom.
Okay, so the one that's got the really big desk in it.
Right.
When you showed me the room, I could not stop myself from imagining just big sheets of butcher paper plastered up on the wall with ideas all over it like before. That office would be perfect for that. I'm a little sad that you're not going to do that now. I'm going to have to show up at your house and do that for you.
Maybe if I get another office, I'll do that. Because right now it's just me and my son. So my son has to have a bedroom, and I have to have a bedroom. Back then I didn't have a child, so I could just do whatever I wanted with any other extra rooms that I had. But now I have to right. I have to give the room to my son first before I can
Mhm.
do anything else. Obviously.
Right. I mean, life is dynamic. It's changing constantly. It's moving forward eternally. Even though time is an illusion, it's a very powerful illusion, and we are all stuck in it. And eventually, it will consume everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, for those of you out there who also suffer from the maker's madness, as I call it, you're valid. I see you, but also, um, just tap into that energy and make everything that you can, because those things that you want made, other people want those things made as well. And even if it's something that already exists and it's just a slightly different variant on it, you
Mm-hmm.
have that energy for a reason, and the best way is to get it out, and you can make some beautiful, amazing things out there. Like Michelangelo and Leonardo da Vinci absolutely suffered from the same thing that you're feeling, if you feel that. And there are other people out there who you just have to keep looking, but you can find people out there who will help you channel that energy into amazing creative things. Like
Mm-hmm.
I've got a bunch of friends who are like that, and you can find those people too. Just keep looking.
Oh yeah, we are a very creative bunch. We just keep, God, we've come up with so many different games. It would help if we finished one, but
Yeah,
we
that's
we.
the other side of the Maker's Madness curse is when
Hmm.
something new comes along, it comes along. You
Oh
can't
yeah,
stop it. And life and time as well, of course.
oh yeah, and I believe that can also kind of extend into role playing as well. When you're like keep making character after character after character. Matter of fact, really quick, I know
I
that
feel
we're
so
ending.
targeted right now.
I know, I didn't start saying this because of you, but I would like to finish it because of you, if that's okay.
Yeah, go
Uh,
ahead.
and I know that we're at like the nearish end of this, so if you don't mind, really quick, because this is
Mhm.
a big thing that we talked about the first time that we recorded, and that is your inability to play Skyrim right now because you cannot stop making characters,
Right.
or you can't proceed on
Right.
with your character.
Yeah. So there's two versions of writer's block. There's the writer's block where you can't think of anything to write, and there's the writer's block where you think of too many things to write. And when you have both of them at the same time, it's really, really irritating. I deleted 36 distinct character saves from Skyrim a while ago. 36 distinct ones that I had plans for, I had an entire concept for. I'd already like got them their first steps on the road. I had 36 of them and I couldn't decide when to play. And so eventually the anniversary edition came out and I was like, okay, I'm going to start new. I'm going to start fresh. I'm going to make one character. I'm going to focus on that character. So I deleted those 36 characters.
Mm-hmm.
I now have about 30 new characters. Only some of them are the same concepts as the ones that I deleted.
Mm-hmm.
And I just...
You can't play your game. You cannot play. You can't play. Yeah.
So, and it's a combination of both. I will sit down and I might pick a character and start playing them, and I'll come up with ideas for other things. But the main problem is because there are so many options, I have a hard time deciding. It's a symptom of, or it's a side effect of a condition that I have because of my ADHD, and a lot of other people have it, called executive dysfunction, where making meaningful decisions can be very difficult. It can be paralyzing and impossible sometimes. I will be working on a character and I'll have this general idea for something I want them to do, and then it gets down to the more minute details, and I'll get steps and steps and steps in there. And I'm not even talking about being perfectionist and getting down to super tiny details that don't matter. I'm talking about just deciding between two paths for something to do first or later. And I'll get to this point that I have this decision to make, and I cannot make this decision. I will sit there and evaluate it over and over, and both options sound good to me, and I can't pick one. And sometimes I will go and discuss that with other people, and I'll tell them the options. And 99% of the time, the response that I get is, both of those sound very good. Yes, I know they both sound very good. That's why those are the two choices that I'm stuck at. And I can't pick one. If I could pick one, I wouldn't be asking this question. And it stifles so much progress, unfortunately. And that happens a lot in other games, but I find it hits me most in single player games. And
Right.
I think one of the most useful elements of collaborative role playing with other people, is you can build off of their momentum. When you get to a point that you're stuck, they might not be stuck, and as they keep going, you can keep adding to it. I think I mentioned this during the Cursed recording that we did before, but there's a meme that I saw that is perfect for this, and it's a picture of this little skinny book, and it's my character's backstory. And then it's a picture of this really thick book, and it's the stuff I've added to my character's backstory based on a single question that someone has asked. And then
Yes.
it's a massive book that just towers off the top of the frame, and it's details I've added to my character's backstory because of a song that I heard. And that is absolutely accurate about this sort of thing. And I think that's one of the most powerful components of collaborative creative processes, not just role playing, but working together with other people on other creative projects as well. Because for me, it doesn't stop at playing Skyrim. I'll even have that problem when I'm trying to design a game, because I do that a lot. And eventually I'll get to the point that I can't pick between multiple options. I can come up with the options. I can put details on the options for days, but I can't pick which one I want. And so I work best when I have someone I can collaborate with. I refer to myself as an obligate collaborator as a result, because the creative energy and ideas of other people, their perspectives, is a very, very useful resource, a very powerful resource.
Right. And yeah, I agree. It's so much easier just to sit down with your friends, especially the people who
Right.
know with you. Even if you don't know them, it's so much easier just to sit down with people who are just interested in role playing, and to do the same. Just role play with them. And I mean, of course, people are gonna rub each other the wrong way every now and again, and that's just a part of life. You're gonna have to get used to that. But I still feel it's easier, no matter the shortcomings of it, to sit down with somebody over computer or even face to face and just role play with them.
Yeah. And you mentioned rubbing each other the wrong way sometimes when it comes to games, and that does happen a lot.
Oh yeah.
There's this old attitude that I remember learning back when I was getting to role playing, is that there's a barrier between in character and out of character. That there is, you don't take, you try to limit how much of yourself goes into your character, and you limit how much of what happens with your character, how much of that comes back to you and how much you let that affect you. And at the core of it, it's if someone's bad guy character decides that they're going to ambush your good guy character and try to rob you or something like that. Don't get
Right.
mad at them because that's how
Mm-hmm.
their character operates. And I get
Mm-hmm.
that. But I think some people take it really far and that they have this like impassable wall and they lose out on one of the most valuable aspects of role playing, and that's being able to explore aspects of yourself and sides of yourself that you normally can't. Um, I think that there is a lot of value to being able to put yourself into your character, explore aspects of yourself through your character in a safer space with other people, and be able to even work through traumas and problems.
Oh yeah,
There,
definitely.
there's and that's where another place where the barrier comes up that's useful is sometimes there are traumas and hangups that people have that they don't want brought up in games. They want to avoid it. There's a lot of different apps and sites you can use that'll basically just you note down things, aspects that you don't want coming up or that you want handled in a certain way,
Mm-hmm.
and your GM knows either to not incorporate those aspects into the game at all or to be delicate about them. And I
Right.
see it come up in a lot of horror stories for D&D as well. There are a lot of times that a lot of stories where there'll be a group of mostly female players who play mostly female characters,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't want, like, it can be empowering to go into a tavern and have a bunch of sexist jerks talk about how women are weak and blah blah blah, and then kick their ass and put them in their place. That can be empowering for a while, but then it gets tiring and exhausting. We already deal with sexism in our lives so much, including some of the worst versions of it. Like sometimes a great way to show that a character is a bad guy is have them do horrible atrocities, and that can include bigotry and sexual assault. And yes, that does show that this person is evil and awful. But some of us don't want to face that again. And it's good to be able to to shut that down, say no, and step away from that.
Oh,
But it can
absolutely.
also be very valuable to say it's someone who has difficulty with their with coming out about being trans and acceptance with other people because they're
Mm-hmm.
trans.
Right.
Sometimes you can get it can be a very valuable way to explore aspects of your gender identity, validation of that, and so on through role playing by making your character trans or the gender you identify as or non-binary, to whatever extent you want. And there can be a lot of good experiences you can have that
Mm-hmm.
are very valuable for building yourself up and learning more about yourself through this role playing format, as long as you and everyone else at the table is willing to approach it in a healthy and uh, productive way. I think
Right.
that saying don't bring anything out of character into character limits, and don't take anything from in character out of character limits the value that this medium can have
Right.
to such a big extent.
You're right. I had just I've been talking about this a lot lately on this podcast where when I first started, like that was a big barrier and you just don't cross it. And I'm starting to realize now that maybe I just joined up with the wrong group because it is a very good thing to, I mean, obviously I think what a lot of people are talking about is like the drama
Right.
and what people don't differentiate between, like when they're talking to new players, is that they're not talking about the personality, they're talking about the drama and how it affects you as a player.
Right.
And for instance, like I remember back in when I was in the Stormwind University, there was this one character or this one player, I should say. And if you got onto his character a little too much, if you just been like, hey, no, this is not a good idea, and if everybody kind of like agreed with that, he out of character would be like, okay, guys, we can stop shitting on my character. And it's just like, no, dude, it's not that. Like we're not like, why are you getting upset out of character about this? This is a in character interaction, and your
Right.
character suggested something that we shouldn't do. and like, so our characters are telling him that, like, you yourself don't have to be upset about that. So, but I'm finding a lot of it, and you haven't heard about it. You haven't heard this yet, but the episode that's going to release before this, it actually has. You were there when I had a problem with my during the last breakup when I was like very suicidal. You were there for that, and you
Right.
had to be on the phone with me some nights,
Of course.
and I mean it just that bled through to my character in Elder Scrolls, just because it was like such a big thing. It was weighing on me so badly that it literally made it to my character. And I'll say it again in this episode, like I did in the last episode. I really didn't mean for that to happen, and I don't know how it actually came to her, or why I made this a part of her character, but it did happen. And I'm so glad it did, because it like, my character was subsequently saved by another character, because at one point I was getting ready to just stop, because I was like, my dreams are breaking again, and I'm going to have to stop again, and I'm so tired of stopping and starting over projects
Mm-hmm.
because of forces that are beyond my control.
Mm-hmm.
and and I was getting ready just to stop role playing altogether again. Like, I really was. And one night, my character is in Cold Harbor. Cold Harbor, for people who do not know, is like a plane of oblivion. This is Molag Bal's plane of oblivion. This is like a level of hell, basically. And in the guild I am in, there is a the in the game I'm role playing in right now, Elder Scrolls, I'm in the guild, the Divine Conclave. In that guild, there's a character named Pandrox, and at the time, Pandrox and Calipers, my character, are out in the wastes. And there's a rule, like when we were in Cold Harbor, all of our characters were stuck in Cold Harbor, where you cannot venture out alone. If you are outside of this one protective area, then you need to be with somebody. And I had every intention of Callie just walking off into the ashy wastes of Cold Harbor, and I really was not going to come back. I wasn't. And I just wanted to give her something of an ending, and maybe somebody would look back at her and be like, "Oh, I wonder what happened to that one Argonian." And Pandrox was like, "No, we're not doing that. Yeah, I'm going to be with you, and we can be out here for as long as you want. But when you go, I go, and when you go back, we'll go back together." And like, part of me was like, somebody really cares about my character. I'm starting to cry a little bit, because it's just such a story of mine that I've been keeping inside, and I only, like, just 2 days ago. Today is the 19th. Maybe on the 15th or the 16th, I told them about this.
Mm-hmm.
And but this has happened months and months ago, like 4 months ago, and it was so defining to my character that, and to me, like, I was like, okay, well, now I feel horrible if my character just disappears now.
Right.
And I got on the next day, and Nadia, um she another character named Nadia gave my character like a list of reasons to live, because, like, she was the only person my character admitted to that she had only came to the conclave to die, and hopefully she would die in such a way that she'd be forgiven for a past sin. And she gave my character a list of reasons to keep living, and it was so short, and like, I still have this letter. um and after that, there was like a ceremony, or not a ceremony, there was like a class thing where they talked about Debella and how you could find beauty even in like a harsh land or a harsh time. And it struck honest to my character, and through her it struck honest to me. And I just like this is gonna sound really, really crazy, but because of this character, I was able to work through just in some form or fashion the suicidal tendencies I was having at the time. And of course, Maddie, I was dealing with so many different emotions back then.
Mm-hmm.
And so no, I absolutely agree that and when you have a character, it is okay for your personality and their personality to kind of bleed into you, as long as it's not like adver as long as it's not like harming you as a person or harming other players. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I completely agree that role playing can be a more powerful. Like, there are a lot of people who watch shows and
Hmm.
play specific kinds of video games to get particular experiences, particular types of not just enlightenment, but also just explore elements of themselves and to see them in front of themselves. And I think that role playing, more so than any of those other mediums, has the power to help with that sort of thing. It can be a very powerful tool for exploring new ideas about yourself, for working through problems, for uh, trying different perspectives, for escape. It can be so much more than just a game where you act.
Hmm.
And I think that that's a very valuable thing. But one thing to always remember is there is a definitely more than just a nugget of truth when it comes to the in character, out of character barrier that exists for a reason. There is a concept in psychology called parasocial relationships.
Hmm.
And that's where basically you build within yourself relationships with other people that don't necessarily exist. In a lot of cases, it happens with bloggers and personalities on YouTube and bands and actors and personalities that you see on the other side of a screen or hear on the other side of the radio. That's a big
Right.
thing that a lot of people in the VTuber environment are dealing with. Is you see these people who are playing games that are fun and they have personalities that you like and that you engage with, and they seem because you spend hours listening to them and seeing them be people, you very naturally, and that's the hardest thing about this, is it's a very natural thing in your mind. It's a very normal connection to them that isn't really there, and that can be exploited in a lot of ways that aren't very good. There are potential bad actors out there who will take advantage of this parasocial relationship to get you to spend money or to give them stuff. But even if they try their very hardest to avoid it, even if you try your very hardest to avoid it, you kind of can't. And when it comes to
Hmm.
role playing, it's very important to bear in mind that you are the term playing is not just playing as in acting. It's not just playing as in being part of a role. It's playing as in a game. It should
Hmm.
be something fun with people you care about and people who you are comfortable with. And regardless of what happens, regardless if you're playing a fighting game and your friend beats you 3 times in a row, or if you're playing a first person shooter and your friend runs you over with a tank or something like that, or, and most importantly, if you're playing a role playing game and
Hmm.
someone, whether, especially if you don't know this player outside of their character in an MMORPG, but even if you do know this person, someone plays a character who does something you don't like. Either your character is trying to accomplish something and their character doesn't agree with that and stands in the way, or they're playing a villain and they get in the way of something you're trying to do, or you're playing a villain and you have a lot of people who are against you, because that's something you have to accept if you play a villain, is you're a bad guy and you will make a lot of enemies that way.
Hmm.
It's important to remember that just because their characters are, or they themselves as they play, are doing things toward your character that you don't necessarily like, that might cause problems or drama or be angry or aggressive or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
That should be something limited to the game. And if you step outside of that, you should remember that they are playing a game with you. If you don't like the way they're playing the game with you, absolutely speak up, say something about it, and discuss with them the boundaries and the parameters that you want to play. But also remember that regardless of the material of the interactions between your characters within the game, you should, outside of the game, be friendly and amicable with the people you're interacting with. And if you're not, then it's not. Then what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Spend time with people you do enjoy being around. If someone is being malicious because they are a malicious person outside of character, don't
Mm-hmm.
interact with them. If you are being malicious in character towards someone because you have some beef with them outside of character, don't do that. You're not only bringing that into everyone else's world that is putting it on them, but you're also really heavily changing things that don't need to be. Talk to people. Communication is key. This is a medium of communication, and always be willing to communicate. But also, know that they're your friends, or try to be friendly with them. But also use this as a very valuable opportunity to explore elements about yourself that you might not feel safe doing otherwise, or just be curious about.
Mm-hmm. We so I think I'm gonna call this episode Chit Chat with Maddie. And I think we need to have a part 2 to this, because we are running so far over time now,
Right.
and there is like so much I want to say to you, and like I want you to tell me, and just so we can get it out there with the audience, because like I don't know if I've ever told you about this before, but I have struggled with my gender identity, because but I haven't had a chance to talk about that other than out of like using my characters. Someone once asked me, why do you play mostly female characters? And it's not because I see myself as a female or as a male, it's because I just forget about my gender a lot. Like, I know who I am as a person, but sometimes I forget, oh, I'm a man, and I'm a male, and I have this thing. And because when I get into my characters, I don't see any difference between myself and my character. And like it's affected me for a very, very long time, and I've just never gotten to talk about that. And I would love to pick this conversation up again in the future. It's just we are so far over time,
Right.
and if we keep going, we're gonna get into 2 hours.
Yeah. So I definitely agree. I would like to do a two-parter with this. Also, I know that some of the topics that we've discussed here are topics you've discussed with Jack as well. And for anyone who doesn't know, Dustin, Jack, and I, we have known each other for like a decade now. Jack and Dustin are the longest friendships that I've ever had. I'm not sure about if they're the longest friends that I've ever had. That's not an aspect of them that I want to know.
Right.
But I've known them for a very long time, and we've worked together on a lot of stuff. As we've mentioned, we've got a lot of projects that we've worked on. We've played games together, made games together. So one thing I would definitely like to do with you and Jack is I would like for us to get together for a three direction episode to discuss some of the topics that I know you have discussed with both Jack and I, like the in character, out of character barrier, interpersonal stuff like that, and just other elements that we've come to between each other in this medium. So I think that not only as part 2 to this, but also hopefully you, Jack, and I can get together and do one together.
Oh, that'd be great. I would absolutely love that. Maddie, is there anything that you would like to say to the listeners before I let you go?
I just want to say to people, if you feel creative or lonely or want to explore things, other people are a very valuable resource for that. Be willing to reach out to other people to work on projects or to work on yourself. Other people are the best way to do that. And when it comes to role-playing especially, use that to be experimental and learn things. It's a very valuable resource, And it's one of the best ways to get other people to help you learn things about yourself that you might not be able to talk about otherwise. Mm-hmm. Don't let role-playing just be a game.
Yeah, what a saying. What a saying. Don't let role-playing be just a game. I love that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for coming on, and I can't wait to have you for a second part.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to it. Hopefully, this recording works and the next recording works.
Oh my god, if it doesn't, I'm going to cry. I'm going to cry so bad, Maddie. All right.
But if you do, you can call me in the middle of the night and talk to me for hours about it anytime you need to.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much. All right, Maddie. I love you so much. I'm going to let you go.
Love you too.
Actually, you know what? Hold on. Here we go.